AITA for getting a coworker investigated and possibly fired? I work in an animal ER. We, unfortunately, see a lot of animal death. It's gut-wrenching every time, but it's part of working in this profession. I wish that it weren't. Our hospital has an area set up for owners that is for euthanasia/death grief. It's a private area that has a separate exit out of the building, a couch, a rug, calm lighting, and resources for dealing with pet grief. Owners can hold their babies in the setting while they pass, say goodbye to the body, or process their loss. There is a peephole in the door of this area that allows staff to see inside if the door is shut. This so that, 1. No one barges in on an owner in their time of grief. 2. Sometimes owners leave without telling us they've gone, leaving a body alone in this area. The peephole allows us to check in and see if the owner has left without disturbing them. We only give a quick peek, and then move on so as not to violate anyone's privacy. A few nights ago, I rounded the corner and found a coworker standing pressed against the door, staring through the peephole. I slowed down, and noticed that he wasn't looking away. He was standing there, staring through it, and kind of smirking. My stomach dropped and I immediately felt sick. Something about it felt so off. I watched him stare for a minute longer before he glanced over and saw me. He looked nervous, backed away quickly, said I was just checking if it's occupied and wandered off. Because of my position, I have access to the security footage in our hospital. I couldn't shake the feeling I had, so I went into a back office and pulled up the footage. In it, I could see him lead a crying woman into the grief area, and then immediately start spying on her the minute the door closed. Every few minutes he would glance around to see if anyone was close by. I went back through the last few shifts that I knew he had worked, and I found 4 other instances of him staring in on people while they were either euthanizing or saying goodbye to their animals. I couldn't get the weird smirk I had seen on his face out of my head. The next morning, I went to HR and explained what I had seen. They were a bit confused, wondering why I was concerned until I showed them the footage. After they saw it, they took it much more seriously. A couple hours later, he was being escorted out pending a misconduct investigation. I have since heard that they found footage of him doing this at least once a shift for a while. I've also heard he would immediately disappear into the restroom after doing this and stay there 5 to 15 minutes. Since that day, he has been emailing me with long paragraphs about how I have distorted his dedication and work ethic to portray him as something he's not. He also said that he was being attentive in case they needed anything and that I have dramatized the situation. I know what my gut is telling me about this, but maybe I overreacted? This is me asking for perspective. AITA. Comment. My only concern would be the obvious serial killer vibes, combined with him knowing OP is responsible for HR nabbing him. OP probably shouldn't be walking to their car alone at night, or as the last one out at the end of the day. My heart dropped a little when OP says they check CCTV. I thought the guy was going to be responsible for hurting some of the animals. I'd be kind of worried that he had. Bonus points if you set up a rule in your own email that flags his messages with something he can see on the forward CC, like caution, incoming message from known creep. Do not reply, follow links, or open attachments, and preserve message for review by relevant authorities. I just lost a couple of pets, OP, and this is horrifying. I would respond to the man, what you're doing is harassment, do not contact me again or I'll get a restraining order. Then, I'd take the messages to HR, and I'd be very careful. If he find another way to contact you, get a restraining order and bring all the proof. Someone like this is capable of anything. Don't let your guard down if he shows up. Depending on the way the email client is set up on the office computers, it is very likely that everyone has everyone's email address. Where I work, I can mail anyone in the organization, including hundreds of people I've never heard of before. The IT department is unlikely to be able to block one employee's address. Even if technically feasible, it's not practical. Employees within the same organization need to be able to mail each other. If the mails are coming from his work address to hers, the only way they'll stop is if he gets fired. If he is sending these emails to her private email address, that's another thing altogether. I work in IT at a large organization and we do not block any employees. If they quit or get terminated, their supervisor gives us the okay to disable their account, which also disables their mailbox, but it doesn't delete it for at least a year. If they ever get rehired later, we can reactivate it. If this particular employee was fired on the spot, he likely would have lost his work email privileges, but if so, he could email up from a personal email as long as he had the address. I don't know what the laws are regarding blacklisting, but maybe a representative from your company can reach out to the other animal hospitals and humane societies in the area and warn them about him. He is reveling in their pain and getting off to it. He is exhibiting Dahmer levels of psychopathy. If I found out someone did this when I brought in a pet to say goodbye, I would be so angry and terrified. I wish there was a way to report people like this and charge them with something. Next story 2. AITA for refusing to forgive my partner's family. This sounds very odd to post, but I'm stumped. Sorry, this is vague as well. I don't want to disclose too much personal life. Me and my partner are long distance. During my final year of college, I decided to fly out to see my partner for a month. During this month, his mother would not leave us alone. He would tell her the plans we had for dates, and she would constantly call, interrupt, and make my partner leave the date for up to 30 minutes at a time to call him and take time away from us. This sounds like I'm jealous until I met his mom. She didn't even speak to me apart from a hello and only spoke to my partner directly. She would ask him how my flight was to Canada. I ended up sitting there in silence during the dinner, as every time I opened my mouth I'd get blanked and completely spoken over. Until she turned to me and said, "You realize this is a terrible time to be here for my partner's name?" And my partner laughed and agreed. These dates I had flown out for had been planned for months. I had left during my finals of my course to be told this to my face. I sat there completely shocked and excused myself to go to my partner's room. I called my friend, sobbing that the whole time I was at this house I was completely blanked and overlooked. My partner told me I had overreacted and caused a scene over a small comment. I tried to be the bigger person, and the next morning I tried again while me and my partner sat on the couch cuddling. She was staring right at me and muttering before again removing my partner, and I overheard the conversation. "I think it's a waste of money that you're spending on him to be here," and a few nasty comments which made me overly uncomfortable and upset. After going back to my partner's place after the weekend visit, I couldn't forgive that his whole family had started to make jabs at my course, my career, my looks, me as a person. It's damaged the relationship, and since coming back to the UK it causes fights due to my partner constantly taking his family's side in how they treat me. At this point everyone in his family have made comments about me, and I can't stand it. I adore and love this man, but I cannot move past that he will not defend me. Comment: You have a partner problem. He will not identify the problem, or ever take your side. That's not likely to change, so it's up to you to decide if you really want to live that way. There's a lot of people on Reddit who are 10 plus years into the situation and are still right where you are now. You don't need to negotiate your feelings, you have to negotiate your reaction. This dude might be good, but here's what it boils down to: his family is comfortable treating you very poorly. He's comfortable accepting that, or he's comfortable denying it, and telling you you're crazy. Those are both huge red flags. Now you just have to decide if it's really worth that. Forever. Because his mom won't change. And unless he's willing to be really uncomfortable and confront those relationships, he'll never change either. I'm sorry, that's a shit place to be in. You know that's up to you, right? You don't have to stay with this person if he is defending his family instead of defending you. NTA for being uncomfortable about how you were treated, and YWBTA if you don't deal with this with your partner. I hope that how he responds to what you have described here, and I'm sure there's more, will help you decide what to do for your own happiness. It's not just this visit, this is a sign of how your partner and his family will treat you in the future too, unless something changes. Serious question: why not? Is it feelings? The feelings you have are not for him. He's not the person you care for and never will be. Trying to stop having feelings is a losing proposition, but you can change the focus for those feelings, or change those feelings if you're willing to accept that he's not who you thought he was and mourn the future that you'd hoped for that will never be. Not even close. I can't imagine hearing from his own mouth agreeing with his mom that you shouldn't have visited. That would have made me feel so small. Classic case of mama's boy and a mom who for whatever weird reason has a creepy too close relationship with her son. Does his mom have a husband? I'm sorry, but you just got a glimpse into the future with this man. The fact that he won't stand up for you and dismisses your feelings is a clear indicator that he will never go against anything his mom says or does. You need to decide if he's worth putting up with his family. It won't get better if he can't acknowledge your feelings. I used to have in-laws that were similar. They are now my ex-in-laws. Oh dear gods, just run. I know you feel you've invested time and energy into this person, but you deserve so much better than to be put down by those nasty people while your partner, In what, I'm failing to see, nods along dumbly. Been there. No, marriage does not make it better, so don't even try deluding yourself there. It only gets worse once they think they have you, and the nasty family just steps up the abuse so you don't get above yourself. Either they get help and counseling to understand proper boundaries, or you need to burn this bridge to the ground.